I think it was last year, I was driving in my usual way, which is fast. I was going down J. Turner Boulevard in Jacksonville, which goes from the beach into town. And there's morning traffic, and I was heading to Marywood for a conference. And everybody's zipping down. And I'm zipping with them. I'm with the flow of traffic. Until the motorcycle cop on the side didn't think so, as he had his radar gun pointing right at me. And as I went by, that sick feeling came upon me as he put his holster back. He put his radar gun back in the holster and got on his motorcycle. And the lights. So I pull over, license, registrations ready for him, roll down my passenger window. Good morning, officer. Do you know why I stopped you? I said, no, I really don't know. Because I didn't think, at that point, I didn't think I was speeding. Everybody was like flowing, right? He says, well, you hit your brake. I said, well, that's the obvious reaction when you see a police officer is you hit your brake. At least that's my obvious reaction. So anyways, he said I was doing 81 in a 65. So that would have taken me to court. Anyways, I said to him, officer, he goes, is this your proper address? I had just come here to this parish. And I said, no, I haven't had a chance. I didn't even know where the DMV is. So I said, it's a smaller, town. I don't know where the DMV is yet. And so I told him that's my last parish I was at. So I said, officer, I'd appreciate if you'd have a little mercy on me. I thought that was gutsy, but you know what? If you don't ask, Anyways, he goes back to his motorcycle, and he's doing his usual thing. They probably checked if I'm a criminal or whatever, okay? And he comes back and he goes, okay, here's what we're going to do. This would have been $300 and 4 points. But since you were honest with me about your address, it'll only be $100 and no points. I'm like, I'll pray for you. So I did pray for him. That was the second time I was stopped. Another time I got stopped, I was still in practice, and I had recently been out of my training, residency, and got my first new car, which was a Mitsubishi 3000 GT stick shift. Not good for me. Anyways, I got pulled over for speeding. And the officer comes up to the car, and it's a lower car. So when he comes up, all I see is his chest, right? Driver's license, registration. I got this down really pat. Here you go. And it is a little awkward silence. And he goes, oh, I can't give you a ticket. You're my son's pediatrician. Yes. So I got off of that one. So, anyways, they were very merciful to me, and I commend our police officers and our firefighters and our rescue people for their very unselfish work that they do. And they are merciful people just by what they do. They help us in our time of greatest need. And don't we hear that today in the gospel? This man in greatest need, and he's rejected by people who should take care of him, his own country people. But it goes back to that whole story of the Samaritans and the Jewish people not getting along, because after the Samaritans built their own temple in Samaria as opposed to Jerusalem, it created a lot of tension. And the Samaritans had, there was a mixture of Gentiles and a lower class of Israelites. And that's who the Samaritans are. And so that's why we have this problem, this tension between the Israelites and the Samaritans. But you see this young man who tries to rationalize his way through in his argument with Jesus, right? Well, I got all this right. This is really good. And Jesus is like, let me help this young man along. Let me get him from rationalization to proper reasoning from my point of view. So he wants them to see that neighbor is anyone. Any and everyone is our neighbor. I don't care where they're from, what they look like, okay? Because God created them, right? And everything that comes from God is ultimately good. We have all done bad and wrong things, but that doesn't make us bad. Second of all, we're made in the image and likeness of Christ. If we can't love that person and be merciful to them, then we don't love Christ. We are liars and hypocrites. And we too are rationalizing our way, we think, into heaven. But we're not. We're not going to get anywhere near heaven if we don't exert and live that same mercy that we're hoping to receive the day we die and face Him. And what does that mercy look like? What does it look like? Anybody know what it looks like? Looks like this. When I was hungry, you gave me to eat. When I was thirsty, you gave me to drink. When I was homeless, you opened your door. When I was naked, you gave me your coat. When I was weary, you helped me find rest. When I was anxious, you calmed all my fears. When in prison, you came to my cell. When on a sickbed, you cared for my needs. When I was laughed at, you stood by my side. When I was happy, you shared in my joy. How are we all doing on that? How are we doing on that? If we just come here to Mass and we don't live that, it's not going to do it. It's a high bar. But what Jesus did for us was a high bar. Right? He gave His very life. He gave everything for us. You know, one time I went to visit one of our parishioners who was in prison, and it's almost like you can't get to them. It's really sad. And I remember I took the Eucharist hoping to give it to this person. But then when I found out, all I would get to do is see him behind a piece of glass and talk through that little hole. The most most loving and merciful thing I could do was take Jesus in the Pix and hold it to the window. And he put his hand on the other side. So this is what we're called to do. This is the love we're called to give. So as we take the Eucharist in today, think about that and see how good we're loving, how merciful are we being. Are we doing enough, right? Are we really doing enough to love Jesus in every other person?